For anybody that doesn't know, my name is Mohamad Raja. A lot of people call me Coach, so I got the name there pinned as that. Um, I guess part of the reason, maybe just because, coaching the new guys, things like that, just kind of a name that came in. And I've been doing this for now a little over 2 years, about 2 years and a few months now. And last month, my team did close to like 1.5 million. And starting off the year probably came somewhere around like 300,000. So from 300 grand to 1.5 in like 10 months, you could say it's like times five, on that. But I would say, man, one of the main reasons just because FFL in total is just the best place if you're looking to build a business, especially getting for something that's not a lot of money up front. It's the best place to do it. When it comes to comps compared to everyone else, there's no comparison when it comes to the leadership here, the standard that's at FFL. It's second to none. So if you're here, you're already have a huge advantage over anybody else in the industry. So that's the main thing. So, thank you for everybody here, like Zach, Sean, all these guys that kind of, led the way for us. So I'm blessed to be on these calls because, I feel like it's one of those things where there's been so many guys that have gone on these calls and I've learned so much from them. So it's always great to get on them and try to, return the favor. And like I said, keep raising the standard here at FFL. Now, to get into the training, what I would say is a big thing that kind of helped me and helped my growth was being able to get guys paid quick. And that was always one of the main things I was focused on. So I would tell anybody here, if you do have any new agents coming in, don't think that the training starts when they first, get that first day started, and they're hitting the phones. The first day doesn't start for them when they hit the phones, in my opinion. So, what I always tell people is, especially while you're waiting for contracting to come in, after somebody has already been in the business, already, passed the test, you need about 2 weeks, you could say, for that time period of, let's just say, them to have a few carriers under them. Let's just say at least like three is what I always say you want to have three carriers at least from when you first pass the test, get the NPN. It's about a 2 week time period. That 2 week time period is when all training hands are on deck for me, right? And there's going to be some people that have other commitments, other jobs that they might have to, give their time to. But at the same time, I'm already creating a schedule with them like, hey, man, I know you're balancing the other job. Of course, some people, they might not go full time until their first day here, or some people even a few weeks in. But I try to create a schedule with them to at least in those 2 weeks, see whatever hours we could put in to training, whether it's, them listening to a Zoom or a Discord or whatever, platform that you guys use to, dial live and hear other people listen to you. I have them as much, time as I can in those rooms. Or if you have an office, I had them in office as many hours as we could get them. I always say you want them around as many, top elite closers as possible. So bringing them into the office and saying, hey, you can sit next to this guy right here, listen to him for the next week, 2 weeks, and just pick up everything about it, right? Not just how he sounds on the phone, but what he does on a day-to-day basis. So when it comes to maybe how many hours he's putting in, right? Maybe how he reacts to getting, rejection, or it could be basically, what he does, even if he's, balancing his book of business, whatever it is, he gets to see, okay, this guy here is where I want to be, right? Because if you just came into a business, you want to, get around a guy that's making pretty good amount of money, a guy that has good results, and you want to kind of mimic what he has, put him around him for the first 2 weeks and just say, okay, like this is how the business kind of works. Then of course, I always let them know, man, like ask as many questions as possible. Then also as well, like if you have any trainings that you do, I know, for example, like All Stars does trainings, Playbook does trainings. A lot of these agencies do a lot of trainings, 3 times a week where the load just isn't on one person to just sit down and do trainings. Because I always say I don't do one-on-one trainings until they actually start dialing. These 2 weeks, like I said, is just like training and it's like hands-off training, but it's really important because, like I said, you always want them to hit the ground running. I always say confidence is a big thing when they start. So be able to even have them join, let's just say trainings and checking to see, hey, are you going to be on these trainings? Let's say it's 3 times a week. 3 times a week, are you going to join them? Are you going to view them? Are you going to watch them? If you don't have any of those within your agency, and let's just say you have a list of 20 videos, if you don't already like have them, I would kind of get those links, have a list of 20, like a playlist, and send those to that agent. Say, hey man, like I want you to watch these 20 videos from now until the time you start dialing these next 2 weeks, because again, you want him to hear from as many different people as possible that are successful in the business. Things that if you watch those videos and you like things and picked up from it, he gets to kind of see that 20 hour, well, it could be what, an hour each video, let's say 20 hours of training that he could get. And it doesn't have to just stop at when he's in the office. It doesn't stop at, a training that might have happened this morning that it was live and he joined. It doesn't stop any of those. It stops whenever he feels like it. So if he's at home and it's midnight and he decides he wants to do a training and take some notes, he's able to do that. And that's why I say is a big reason why when I have dudes start, they're off to such a quick, fast start. I have dudes a lot of times, 30 days into the business, they're already making 20 grand. You know, we have a lot of dudes that come in. And it's like, I would say like the minimum that we kind of expect for a lot of dudes, you're going to make at least $10,000, into the business. And this is something that we kind of helped with, not just with me, it's something I do with all my guys. So any of my guys that are building, that's one of the expectations that I put onto them as well is, hey, when you start building and I kind of teach them, hey, we want you to kind of take our guys and kind of follow the same path. What happens to them as well? Now they're have a team with a lot of growth because they're kind of following the same thing. Like everybody that trains, this is the training process they have. And that's how I also had guys that started building go from what, zero, starting, let's say, beginning of the year. Now I have one guy that does about 600,000 a month, from his first day starting in the beginning of the year till now. And he has about like 25 agents, within that time period. Most of them are getting off to fast starts because of this reason, right? So that's how you get dudes also on your team when you want to build leaders up. It's like figure out how we're going to get people paid quick because all he needs to do is bring people into the business. You show them the way of like, hey, this is how we want to train people, and this is how your kind of their first 2 weeks should start. They're able to bring people in. Now, what happens when this guy starts a new job? His excitement is through the roof, and he just made, let's just say, $10,000 his first month in the business. He's going to tell everybody he knows, right? Like, who wouldn't, right? Like, if you just started a job today and then a month later you made $10,000, I'm sure one, you probably talked to your friends about the job before you started, right? Like, everybody's always talking about, oh, hey, this is what I got going on. I'm doing this. I'm taking this risk. I'm starting my own business. All those type of things are a constant conversation that people have with friends and family members, right? Like, no one keeps that really a secret. Then let's just say if that person were to struggle in the first couple weeks, I'm sure if that person was probably interested in what this guy was doing, it's like, oh man, how's it going? Oh, I've been struggling. I'm not really making much, and this is what's going on, and one, two, and three. Whatever interest that guy might have, probably just got a lot more skeptical. But let's just say that first same person says, hey man, my first month in the business, I just doubled my last income from my last job that I was there 8 years, working towards. Now I'm able to make, 10 figures. Sometimes people are making 15, 20 figures their first month. Not 20 figures, 20,000. 20 figures would be nice though, right? Maybe 10,000, 15,000, $20,000 their first month. And now that dude's going to be like, whoa, like if it's that easy in your first month, what can you do after month 5, maybe month 8, maybe a year, 2 years into business? What can I do there? If that's the numbers that I'm hearing right in the beginning. And it seems so easy, right? So if this dude comes and says, hey, man, I went into the system, it was really easy, plug and play, figured it out in a month, and now I'm making X amount of money. Like, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot easier for that dude to for you to tap into your dude. So basically going and saying, hey, I got this recruit, just made $10,000. I want to see what people he knows that I could recruit from. And it's an easy way to do it if you're getting paid quick. So, like I said, don't wait until the first day of dialing starts to start training. Take that seriously the 2 weeks before then, because it all comes down to confidence as well. And that guy that's, going to start dialing, and if he has the confidence that he knows what he's doing when he starts, that's a big deal, right? It's people feel the main thing that stops people, I always say in this business, we always say it's not a lot of times work ethic. A lot of people here are willing to work really hard. We already know that. And people who have a weak work ethic, like you're not even really concerned with what their results are because you don't really care because it's just on them. But the people that they come into business and they're working hard, the main thing that stops them is just their mentality, right? Like we all know it's mentally what stops them. So the quickest way to kind of fix that is give them confidence. How do you give them confidence? Get them off to get them off to a quick start with them knowing what they're doing. They want to feel like, hey man, like I came in prepared. I always say like when we talk to people from different IMOs that we're trying to recruit, like I've had so many people tell me they quit after the first week and they want to come over to us. And I'm like, dang, like you only gave them 1 week. And it's like, yeah, it's just because like that first week, they just didn't get a feeling as if people were there to kind of show them, hey, like we care for you to do well here. And you're going to do well, but you have to follow these things. And people want to be held accountable. Like people who are actually good and people that are actually want to kind of be successful in this business, they want somebody that's going to hold them accountable. They don't like it when they kind of come in and like nobody really cares when they showed up to work, what time they got on Discord or Zoom, and didn't really listen to any of their calls, didn't ask them what their progress of their training was, didn't kind of check in with them, 1 week after they passed and said, hey man, how many videos have you watched? What did you learn from it so far? Let's have a conversation about one, two, and three things. Oh, nice. Yeah, you picked up on that. Yeah, yeah. You see how, when we kind of talk on the phone, we're, not super excited. We kind of, our tone is kind of like a monotone in the middle. And when we kind of go over those things, like, oh man, yeah. So this dude is super, super excited because he feels like, man, like I'm getting really good proper training here. That let's just say if you did switch from different IMOs, like I didn't get anywhere else. And then, like I said, that all comes back into the confidence and belief into the business because he feels like I got good leaders here that are watching after me. And that's a huge, huge deal. So that's kind of like the first thing that I wanted to open up with was basically just the beginning phases and trying to get people, paid and paid quick. Then I would say the most important thing after, let's just say, the 2 weeks and getting them paid and things like that is really just keeping like a high standard and really just like a no complaint zone. So I always tell people this, and I've had a bunch of people like, hey man, I have, a guy that started, he's struggling. He's kind of complaining about one, two, and three things. What do I do? And if you're in one of those scenarios, I always say the worst thing you could do as a leader is look at that dude and just tell him, like, man, I don't know. Like, oh man, like I'm struggling with, I'm working 10 hours a day, man, 6 days a week, and I can't get a sale, and I don't know what's going on. And when you kind of look at him and say, like, listen, man, you just got to keep working. You just got to keep dialing. Like, you like giving him those responses, just that, like, man, just keep working hard and it'll figure itself out. Like, nobody wants to hear it, just work harder, just keep working hard. No, like, you have to be able to look at him and tell him what the things that he needs to improve on. That is what people will take away from it because then they go and they say, okay, well, it's not just like a me problem. It's not just like, I'm sorry, it is just a me problem. And it's not just like an issue of, hey, like this dude, he just says like just work harder and I'm supposed to just trust it and believe it and just think I'm gonna get a hang of it. Like, no, like they want that feedback. And if you act like you don't know what there is to fix, then there's gonna be like I would say like a cloud in their mind. Because all they're gonna think of is like, man, like, is this actually for me? Is this actually going to work if I just keep working really hard? I'm working as hard as a lot of people here. I see some of these guys doing well, and other these guys, they're making money, but like it's not working out for me. So the main thing I would tell you guys is I just kind of go back to them. I'm like, hey man, like we're gonna work together. I'm gonna figure out every single thing that I think you could improve on, and just every single little thing. Tell them, hey man, I don't think this is working. I don't think right now you're having success because of one, two, and three, and four things that you need to work on. Like I will always find something because everybody, of course, if you're not selling, there's something that you need to work on. But not being able to kind of point that mirror back at him and saying, hey man, these are the things you need to work on. And if you don't work on these things, then you shouldn't really expect to get a better result. Then what that does, that makes him not complain. Because like somebody that's going to complain thinks that it's something other than him. But if he knows that the issue is him, is he going to complain? Heck no. But that's what our job is as leaders is to let him know that there is no space for that. There's no room for a complaint, you know? Because if other people are doing it, then you could do it too. Obviously, it's either activity or skill. And if the activity is there, it's like, okay, like maybe you need to work on your skill and just being honest with them and telling, hey, man, like, and I always tell people this the same thing, right? Especially like if anybody is like, let's just say if you're getting leads from your upline when you first joined the business, right? Those leads are probably aged leads that you got from your upline. I'm completely honest. I always tell them like, hey man, just to let you know, like, like when they're struggling, I'm like, this is normal, right? You're new in the business. And this is the worst you're ever going to be at the phone. Like, let's be honest, right? Like, are you ever going to be worse than you are right now? And the answer is always no, right? Like, I should only get better from here. The second thing is, right? This is this is what you're going to get with aged leads. So you have a disadvantage for being worse on the phone. You're going to be dialing aged leads until you figure this out. So like obviously you're not going to get as good a result as some of these guys that are buying $2,000 a week, right? Like you shouldn't expect to get the same result from something free as the dude that just spent $2,000 this week on leads on, right? So I let them know that. Then the third thing I always tell them, man, I'm like, and also at the same time, like you're on the starting contract, right? So the starting contract, you're going to get paid lower than everyone else as well. And you have the lowest amount of experience here, right? You don't get any bonuses yet either, when you first start. You don't get any back end money from policies you sold 9 months ago. So I let them know, shut up. I'm like, hey man, you're at 4 disadvantages, right? Like you shouldn't expect to get paid as much as these guys yet for obvious reasons. And I go through them again. And I told them, no bonuses, comp is at the lowest level. Obviously, you're dialing age leads. You dudes are paying $2,000 a week, and you're the worst you're ever going to be at sales right now. How can you expect to get paid the same amount as those other guys? And then it really just makes them think like, okay, like I do got to be more patient because it is going to take time. And yeah, like maybe, once I could get better experience, maybe I could cross this one off, right? And I can expect to make a little bit more. Maybe when I start buying my own leads, I could cross this one off and I could start making more. And then let's just say after he starts, getting some production up and he could get up to like the next tier or the second tier on the comp structure. Okay, maybe I cross this one off. I'm not at the lowest comp anymore. And the last one is like, okay, like I've been producing a little bit. I'm getting back end money, bonuses, the other types of income that the business has, or downlines, or whatever it is. And it's like I cross that one off too. But until I start crossing any of these off, like, yeah, man, like I shouldn't expect to make a crazy amount of money. Or I shouldn't be comparing myself to these guys yet. And I think that that's a big like motivation killer for a lot of people is that they start to compare themselves and you let them know like, hey man, like you don't have to do that. It's just taking one step at a time, crossing those off your list. And I think that's what it is. It's and I always say, man, being honest is one of the best things that you could do is like telling them in that way, like, yeah, man, like you shouldn't expect it. Right. And when I tell people that a lot, it's like it really hits them because it really makes them think like, yeah, you're right, bro. Like I need to cross that first one off my list. Like I need to get better on the phone. That's like, hey man, we're gonna help you, but you got to help yourself first. So these 20 trains I gave that playlist for, you ran through them? Yeah, I ran through them. Did you ran through them twice, 3 times? Okay, I'm gonna send you some other ones. There's gonna be a new one today. There's gonna be a new call today. How about you go over that one again? Or something that you feel like they could read. Like I said, like give them homework. Like, hey man, like you need to figure this out. Like this is on you to figure it out. I'm here to help you out, but at the end of the day, it's letting them know like this isn't working because you still need time and you still need X amount of practice. And I think that's like a big thing to let these dudes know is just being completely transparent on that point. Right. Now, I'm just gonna open up for questions if anybody has anything they want to ask, anybody that about building, leading that they might have questions for. All right. No questions on any of those? Okay, got it. You could mute if you guys want to. What about people who do everything right? The thing is, oh, you guys can't unmute. Okay. So I would say, people who do everything right, one of the main things is kind of like I said, is when you point that back at them is, okay, you think you're doing everything right, but realistically you aren't. Like there's something that has to be not right. And I would say one of the main things that we teach a lot of guys, that difference is it's one main thing I always say is anytime someone's doing bad, I always tell them like you're not as bad as you think you are. Right? Like people think like the reason why this dude is selling, 2 times more than me is because he's 2 times better on the phone. Usually it's not. Usually it's like the little thing that you do wrong. So it's like that little extra time of experience that you're getting your reps on the phone, that little extra time of training makes the difference. I would say like a big reason why I always see a big difference between dudes who do and say the same things as everybody else and the other person is just because they're not like natural or not human on the phone. So being able to just tell your guys like, hey man, like remember, like the script, it's a guideline, it's not a cage. Like you're here to basically build a relationship with them and get them to know and not and I always say, right, a great way to kind of break the ice with anybody when you're talking when they're talking to people on the phone, I always tell them is that you want to make them feel like, hey man, like I'm you're giving me all this information about you, right? So the client's going to be telling you every single thing that you ask them, they're going to answer those questions. You're going to maybe ask them, questions just to kind of open them up about their life. Hey, man, you got kids, you got this, you got that. Always share something about yourself as well. That's one of the main things I would tell you to kind of tell your guys to help them out is tell them, hey, man, like give them something about yourself as well. For someone who feels like it's a one-sided thing where I'm telling you everything that's going on in my life, but I don't know a damn thing about you or what's going on in yours, like yeah, like sometimes it's not going to really work as well. So one of the main thing I could tell your guys if you feel like hey they're struggling, they're doing everything right, is inspect the little things like that. Like hey man, how relatable are you on the phone? Like do you ever just like talk to them about what's going on in their life? Do you ever share a little bit about yourself as well? Are you relatable at all? Do you just kind of sound like a robot? Do you sound like you're just kind of here to answer questions? Do you sound nervous at all? Do you maybe like some people, their tempo kind of changes up, they get an objection, and maybe they start to talk a little bit faster now. They start to talk with a little bit of different of energy because they got an objection. It's like I focus on like all those little things, and sometimes that's the reason why someone's not doing well. So if someone's acting like, hey man, I'm doing everything right and it's still not clicking, like, bro, you're not doing everything right. So that's like the main thing I would say about that. Do you have any specific videos that you send or using the gateway trainings? So a lot of people I know always like Grady Polson's trainings. That's a really good one. Going on the YouTube, you can even go on the playbook trainings. You could go on the gateway trainings as well. All of them are really good. Like I said, FFL has the best of the best in here. You just got to use them to your advantage. And like I said, it might be a specific video that works really well for you. So I would say if you're a leader, like watch videos yourself and try to find, hey, which ones do I feel like really help me out right now? And then I could give those to my leaders. That's what I always say I like to do. Like I watch the videos and say, man, I really like this. I'm gonna, kind of save this link. And then when I have guys come in, like I add that to the playlist that I'm sending out. Do you have a daily schedule and start time? Yeah, of course. I mean, I always say I don't really have like a set schedule because I always say, man, I come in 9 a.m. I might work until 7, 8 o'clock. Doesn't really have like a set time of what time I'm leaving. That's kind of what separates people at times, right? Is leaving when the job's done, not when the time's up. All right. What was the hardest part about building your team in the beginning? The hardest part about building your team in the beginning is honestly is you're you're preparing yourself for something that you probably have never had any experience with, and it's learning. It's a big learning curve, right? Because you're trying to shift your focus from like, man, like I want to be the best dude at selling. Like you're focused on like this is what makes you money is selling, and now you have to shift your focus to like, hey, I need to do something else as well that's also going to make me money. And sometimes that shift in focus is probably one of the hardest parts is to be able to kind of the balancing of both in the beginning, and then just finding the right guys. And if you're got to break out of your comfort zone on social media to try to recruit guys, recruiting didn't come easy for me in the beginning. You know, it was it didn't like some people I know like they could recruit 20 people in a day. I wasn't one of those people. So it was just getting out of your comfort zone on social media, talking to friends, family members that you might know, and just saying, hey man, like I think you'd be a good fit for this, and just having a conversation about how's it been going for you. But I think those are kind of like the hardest parts in the beginning. Do you recruit using business presentations or mostly one-on-one? What would you say by like business presentations? If you could give me more details on that. Do you give people freedom to make their own schedule, or do you have a specific standards for a schedule? I give people specific standards for a schedule until they are basically until I have the confidence in them that they're able to kind of leave them alone and let them figure things out. because in the beginning, I always say it's good to help them build good habits. A lot of people, they had a different definition of what hard work meant until they joined FFL. Like I would say that was like me for myself, for example. Like I thought if I worked 50 hours, I was working really hard until everybody here started working 60, you know? So I would say if I didn't have, my upline, the other leaders that were on the team at the time, kind of watching them and learning from them and them like looking at me like I was crazy if I was getting off at 6 o'clock, then yeah, I would say that's one of the main things is somebody kind of setting that schedule for you and those standards in the beginning. So you kind of build those good habits. Now it's like I'm so used to, working later hours that it would be like it would feel weird if I didn't. So I would say until, they're able to kind of take care of themselves and kind of that, you don't have to really worry about them anymore, they're able to produce, then yeah, I would say definitely set up like a specific schedule and standard. Did you have someone walk you through every single step from how to get licensed to deals, recruits, CRM, or dialers? Yeah, I mean, I guess Spencer, that would be like your upline. That's going to be who's kind of walking you through those. Let's see. We got some of these quicker ones. All right, let's go to the ones on the bottom here. NS. Do you set up goals for new agents when they join the business so they have something to work toward and feel motivated to achieve? I don't set goals. I just basically give them just like tasks to do. And then I just check in on them every few days and just see, like, hey, how's it been going? And then I always say, man, this is a big part too of who you're going to take seriously in the beginning as well. So those beginning phases, like if you see like somebody's like not really watching the videos, they're probably not like responsive quick, when you ask them something. Um, let's just say like the little things like how quick they pass the exam. Like I kind of take note of each one of those things and kind of see like, all right, who do I feel like is taking this more seriously? And then when they start the business, especially if you're like recruiting at a high level and you have a couple people putting starting at one time, then that's when you kind of get be able to figure out like, okay, like this dude was like way more committed than this guy. Like I think in the beginning, it's like I will probably focus on this guy more because I'm not sure. Like I think this guy needs to kind of prove it a little bit more that he should be getting more of your time. So it's a good way to kind of weed people out in the beginning as well to who you feel like are going to help as much. How do you deal with people that complain, whether it's about leads or getting number rejections all day? So people are going to complain no matter what, right? Main thing is they just want to feel heard. They just want to feel like, hey, man, like this is something that's normal, right? When you act like it's unusual and you act like I said, like it's a normal and something that like, oh my goodness, man, like this is just it just feel I feel like a lot of people think this is just happening to them, right? It's always to make that joke. I'm like, man, like people think like when they're struggling, like everybody right now is selling $1 million a day. This is only happening to me. I'm the only person in the world that's struggling. That's what a lot of people have that thought. And it's like, hey man, you're not the only one that's struggling, but listen, like if you're doing the things that you kind of put in place on where it's like you work on the join the trainings, you're putting in the hours, you're, being coachable. It's like it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And doesn't matter who you are, you're gonna have good days and bad days. And when you kind of let them know, like at the end of the day, complaining isn't gonna really help anything. The only thing it's gonna do is kind of pollute your mind with more like bad feedback, you could say. And you just and that's really all it is. It's like, hey man, like you just got to come back into work tomorrow and just come in with a fresh mindset, and that's really it. But also with those people that are complaining, it's like, hey, like I said, go back to them and kind of point that mirror back at them and say, hey man, I understand that you complain, I understand, I hear you about one of these two, three things, but listen, these are things I feel like you could do to probably avoid um, getting numbers objections and things like that. Like, let's run through it. Hey, and you kind of go through some of them and say, all right, like, let's see how you handle it. It's like, hey, man, you did this part a little bit bad. And like, you really start inspecting every single thing they did or break it down. And when you go through it and it makes them realize, like, all right, man, like, that dude told me 5 things that I didn't do right. And then if you had 5 things that told him that he didn't do right, the complaint again is not going to be like, oh man, it's the leads, it's that. No, it was me. Like he showed me 5 things that I did wrong, you know. But it's being able to actually pay attention and dissect everything single thing that he said on the phone call, to be able to point out those things that he did wrong. Because like I said, if you kind of come back from that conversation, I was like, hey man, you did everything perfect, man. I don't know what to tell you, bro. I don't know why you can't sell. I don't know why you didn't make any money this month. Like you have to have something to say in response to it. So, like I said, whether if they're struggling and you kind of go through that list of the four things that I mentioned earlier, or whether if they're struggling and then you listen to their training, their calls, and it's like, hey man, like you're messed up on a couple things here. Like those are the ways that you kind of take out any type of negativity, is because it really just comes down to like, hey man, like why am I complaining? How do you support new agents with leads, if at all? Keep killing it, brother. Thank you, Jake, man. Appreciate it. Um, I would say, man, the best way to do it is try to give them some aged leads, however way you guys want to structure it, whether, you know, if you're still dialing and you're spending, let's just say 2 grand, and maybe now you want to spend 3 grand. So you could just have, a bunch of leads for yourself, but then at the same time, that's more aged leads going down to some of your new guys. It could be maybe a collective group of guys that say, hey, we're all buying leads and we're all gonna decide to kind of disperse this out, some of these aged leads for some of the new guys. However you want to do it, kind of everybody kind of does it differently. But I would say like for sure it's like an aged lead thing is what I would do. People who want to like have people buy leads from day one, in my opinion, is really tough on people. It's really hard for them to stay motivated and to kind of keep their foot on the gas when they're just thinking about like they're bleeding out of like money while they're trying to figure this out. So I would definitely say some type of free leads thing. I wouldn't suggest buying them for them because it doesn't matter whether they're new or old. Um, it doesn't really matter, especially like in the beginning because they're not going to be good. Like it doesn't matter. Like no lead is just going to buy from anybody that picked that called them. Like it doesn't really work like that. They need to get better on the phone. So I would say age leads is a good way to kind of build them up on that. And I would say the earlier they are, give them the more aged lead. If you have a limited amount, because I always say they're going to get their teeth kicked in anyway, right? So let them get their teeth kicked in with the most old leads that you might have, and then they'll get like 50 objections a day that they have to battle. And it'll be really, really good practice for them to be able to kind of say, hey, I got this lead 20 times this week already. Maybe on the 21st time he knows how to figure it out, right? So it's like letting him get all those no's in the beginning, and then also seeing from that, it's like, what dudes could I put through that really? It's like I always say, it's a tough test, right? You put them through that test and you see who's going to come out of this. And if you're able to put them through that test and they come out of that and they come out of those age leads and they're not like shaken up by it at all, and they're just like, listen, man, I'm here to work. I'm here to figure this out. I just gotta dial harder because yeah, like I said, when you break it down, it's like, man, I'm all these more age leads. I get it, man. Like I gotta dial harder. It's on me to figure this out. I'm gonna use this as training and learning as free leads. I have nothing to lose. Those are the type of dudes like, oh, okay, yeah, I like this guy. You know, because you gave him those old leads and he didn't complain about it at all. And then when you start giving something a little bit better, now this feels like that lead that you just gave him now, let's say 3 weeks old compared to the lead you gave him that was 2 months old. Now these 3 week old ones are gonna feel like fresh leads to him. And he's gonna feel like he's gonna get like this new burst of confidence as well, where it's like, oh man, like I just went through all the crap these last couple weeks. Now I'm getting these leads and now it's game over. And then from there, as he starts to get the ball rolling, you try to, as soon as he starts to get paid, you encourage him as soon as possible to buy his own leads. All right. And then another one here. What do you think attributes to the amount of leaders you have built so fast? So I would say, man, the thing that attributes to building leaders as fast as possible is just holding a high standard for the team and basically not accepting anybody here, especially guys that you think have potential to just be average. Right? Like I have guys on my team sometimes that like I have to tell them like, hey man, like you're a leader on this team, like you should hold yourself different, like you should be working harder than everybody else, right? And it's just explain to them the opportunity here and knowing that you're here to help them as well and you kind of guide them through it. Like I prepare my dudes for everything, man. Like dudes have a, hey man, I got to recruit. Hey man, let me help you out with how to do an interview. Like like let me walk you through that. I have a script down for an interview that they do, and this is how we run it. And I'm gonna go through it with you, and we'll role play it one time. Let me show you how it's gonna go. Or hey, I have an interview today. How about you listen to mine, and we'll do one with you tomorrow. Like I prepare them for every single step of the way. Hey, they're going to start training guys. I'm talking to these guys like when it's their first guys they're training, just as much as probably as I train guys that are brand new in the business. Like I'm helping him as much as I can, train his guys. And I always say in the beginning as well, like if you have, guys that you think are going to be leaders, just even if in the beginning you're probably helping train his guys for him, like it's one of those things where he'll kind of learn from like the sidelines a little bit. Like he's still going to be involved, but if you're involved as well to kind of show him, hey man, like this is how training should go, and they're watching you do it, and they're seeing the results that their guys are getting, like he's going to follow that as well, and then it kind of gives him that learning experience on the way as well. So he could kind of figure out, okay, now I got, three dudes are trained up, they know what they're doing. He's seeing overrides from it. Like he's just going to want to build more from it. But now this time, when he runs it back and now he got new dudes coming in, he's not going to need your help anymore. So I would say it's just like a couple different things, just preparing your guys and just holding them to a high standard. Now, we'll take one more question here, then we'll wrap this up. So, uh, how do you reach out to the regulars versus the dogs when you bring in guys in for your business? I know it's frustrating to invest time to something that doesn't work out. So I would say, man, when it comes out to leaching out from when you said leach out from regulars versus dogs when you bring in guys, the main thing I could say, man, is just actions over words, right? Like see the guys that are gonna come in every single time without you asking, hey man, where are you on Discord? Where are you on Zoom? Like see who just shows up without you asking. And then from there, just decide who you want to give your time to, right? Because you don't have a million hours in a day. Like it has to go to somebody. You have to prioritize certain people over others. So it's one of those things where just see what their actions are, right? And like I said, those first 2 weeks, a lot of times before you even start putting time into them, you get to figure out who that is by the actions I was saying, right? Like getting on those calls and seeing, all right, man, like this dude doesn't even watch any videos. All right, man, like he's not really watching the videos. I'm not going to really put much time into him. Then let's just see, then it's time for him to start working. And you're like, man, he's not really working the schedule that we talked about. Like I always say, man, I'm gonna either build you up or build you out, or build you up or push you out. Sorry. So I'm either gonna build you up to where you're able to actually be a solid person on this team, or I'm either gonna push you out to where you're not gonna be working here long. Like I always say, like after 2 weeks, you kind of know where people are gonna be. And after 2 weeks, you could tell, all right, this dude, I feel like he's gonna be fine. Like he's gonna stick around. You kind of put him into one bucket. And then you have the other guys where it's like, man, like either if he's really bad, maybe you kick him out first 2 weeks. And then maybe he's like on the line for you where it's like, I'm really not sure how this is gonna go. I've kind of put him to another place and I kind of keep a good eye on him. Cause like I'd rather kick a dude out early than late. Like I always say, like I'd rather have a dude out, especially if he's in office. If you have an office, I'd rather kick him out early than late because the last thing I want is his negativity to kind of go to the other people because he's lazy and he has excuses. So those people that like you're not really sure if you're gonna get rid of them or not, just keep a close eye on them. And then, like I said, either build them in or build them out. Like it's one or the other, but you can't just kind of just let him just do whatever he feels like doing, and just saying, you know what, like if he sticks around, he sticks around. Like that's just gonna roll you up debt. That's just gonna basically infect other dudes on the team. So either he's gonna be a solid person or you gotta get him out. All right, guys. Well, thank you for having me on here. It was a pleasure speaking to you all, and everybody have a great rest of your day. Thank you.